I'll start asking you some inconvenient questions. Do you know the farmer who has grown the food which you ate afternoon or probably in the evening yesterday night? How many of you know? No? Is she or he still alive? Because in the last 21 years, more than 3 lakh farmers have completed system. The farmer who has produced food for you yesterday might be one of them. Last year's data, which was released just 2 days back, there's 41.5% increase in the suicides of farmers. Why they are doing that? Why they are committing suicide? The average income of farmers in India is 6,426. This is based on the National Sample Survey done in 2014. An average of 85% of them who are the small and marginal farmers in the country is 5,000 rupees. That 5,000 rupees comes from their wage when they work as labor, their production, the livestock which they maintain, and if they are doing some small businesses or if they some other sources of income. All 4 sources of income put together is what that 5,000 rupees comes from, and their monthly expenditure is around 5,800 rupees is what the data says. And the average loan of Indian farmers is around 47,000 rupees, and we need to feel guilty that we are in a state where the average loan of a farmer is more than 1 lakh rupees. More than 1 lakh rupees. So why this is happening? Why this is happening? The second part of the story which we also need to look at is whenever we hear about agriculture, we hear about green revolution, right? We hear about green revolution, how technology brought in a big change, and that change which led to a situation where they are all self-sufficient. But what is the self-sufficiency? And whose self-sufficiency they are talking about? Whose self-sufficiency we are talking about? Look at these queues. These are not the demonetization, post-demonetization, people standing in queues for 8 years. They are the farmers who are standing in queue for fertilizers, standing in queue for seeds, standing in queue for credit in the last 10 years. We never bothered about it. When we were forced to stand in queue, we all started feeling the pinch of it. Such foolish decisions were taken in the last 20 years. Many people were affected. Since we were not affected, we will never bothered about it. So that is the only thing which has happened. Otherwise, such decisions were happening. I am not saying the decision was bad. The way it was implemented was bad. It's the same story. So when you say green revolution, the idea of food security is not wrong. But the way you implemented it without looking into the after effects of it, without looking into what it has done to the people is wrong. So how do you look into the local situations and your people, and based on which you make a plan is something which is very, very critical. One more issue. Okay, we stood in queue, we bought the fertilizers, we used it. What did we do with that? It increased the cost of cultivation hugely, hugely. Today, across the country, if you see, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana is the highest cost of production for any product you take. To produce a quintal of rice, it takes 2,600 rupees. A quintal of paddy, 2,600 rupees. The price government gives is 1,450. Without, can one economist explain how a family makes a living over? You spend 2,600 rupees to get 1,450, and how they are going to do that? Second is the stagnated yields, because the technology was pushed on to the people. There was no increase in yields which has happened. Initially there was a big jump, but later on there was a stagnation. Not much happened on that front. Reducing subsidies, government always says there is a burden on the government. So it starts reducing the subsidies. Today the subsidies are very much calculated. And then on the top of that we got into a global agreements where we said we need to compete with the world. So after the WTO happened, we opened up the markets. So cheaper food started coming in. where it is grown with huge subsidies. An average farmer in US gets about 2 lakh rupees subsidy per acre. But an average farmer in Andhra Pradesh or Telangana won't get anything. And you opened up the market and you want both of them to compete with you. So that's the situation in which people got in. On the top of that, there is an increased cost of cultivation, cost of living as well. The cost of living have increased because everything as part of your livelihood or as part of your living has increased. When there is an inflation in the market, what happens? All the employee salaries increase by 10% minimum. But what happens to the farmer's produce price? It will never increase. And also, you say to increase the efficiency, we privatize. The moment you privatize health or privatize education, what happens? Only those who can afford will go. So the whole section of the society was just pushed out because they couldn't afford. So on one hand, you are increasing the cost of production, but the prices are not increased. On the other hand, you increase the cost of living, but your income is not increased. So you are slowly getting into a kind of debt trap. So how do we get better incomes? So that's the question which we grappled with. So after doing my PhD in agriculture, I got into Indian Revenue Service. But while preparing for the Indian Civil Services, I found reading the whole Indian economy and all, what are the mistakes we are doing in administration. So I thought I should work, after studying for 10 years, I should work with farmers and agriculture. So I left it and then joined Agricultural Research Service. And I worked as a scientist in Agricultural Research Institution, but I found we are living far from reality. The research is not accountable, research is not realistic, and it is not delivering what it is supposed to deliver. We were worried more about our promotions, we were worried more about our salaries, we were worried more about our job security rather than looking at the farmers' security. We were meant to do that. So we thought, some of us thought we need to try out something alternative. What do we do? So one of the framework which we thought is to improve the income of the farmers, we need to cut down on the cost. How do we cut down on the cost? First of all, how do we make production efficient? So that's one thing which we thought. Second is increase the price. Today it is getting little, so how do we increase the price? Also, how do we increase the share of the farmers in the consumer's price? So you all pay something to buy, right? It's not that you are not buying food, you are all buying. But in that, do you know how much goes to the farmer? So if you are buying rice at 50 rupees in Hyderabad, farmer share is around 20 rupees in that. Not even 20 rupees, I would say 12 rupees. If they get 12 rupees in the 50 rupees which you are paying, that's the biggest. So 22% is what farmers get in a primary processed foods. And if it is a secondary process, like if you are buying it chips, so 50 grams cost you 20 rupees. A kg of potato farmer sells at 3 rupees. So that's the kind of share which farmer gets. So how do we increase the share of producer in the consumption is what is another thing which we thought. Then the diversify the sources of income. So that's something which we thought we should do. So that's where we thought we started the Center for Sustainable Agriculture. Some of us came together, we left the jobs and then we came and then we thought we should go towards sustainability in farming. The first question I will again ask you, what was on your plate today? Rice? There was rice? There was mixed vegetable curry? Vendi was there? What else was there? How much pesticides were there? How much heavy metals were there? How much heavy metals were there? How much pesticides were there? How much growth hormones were there? Have you ever worried about it? It's all because they are used there. They are used there. So end of pipe solution doesn't work. End of pipe solution doesn't work. Today what we do is an end of pipe solution. Clean it, pack it neatly and then give you. And at the most you label it. That doesn't work unless you clean up the production. Sorry, somehow missing the second thing. Do you drink water or drink water? Have you ever thought of this question? Per acre it takes 60 million liters of water. 60 million liters of water. To put you in right perspective, that 60 million liters of water means 12 trains which carried water to Latur from Delhi. 12 trains which carried that water. 12 such trains are required to produce 1 acre of paddy. So just imagine one day, one meal you are eating, how much ecological footprint it has on an environment. We never bothered about it. If farmer stops doing farming and then bring that water, pack it and then sells to you, you get a better price. It's a better price. 5,000 liters is what it takes to produce 1 kg of 1 kg of rice takes about 5,000 liters. At the same time, millets. There are millets, there are other crops which can be grown at 200 liters, 300 liters. Who makes the choices? Since we buy something, people produce that. Since government promotes some crops, people make that. So how do we make that shift is another thing which we need to do. One village which is 70 kilometers from Hyderabad, this is called Yanabali. This became organic in 2005. In 3 years time. So before we started CSA, we were also working with many farmers. So in 2004, we decided we'll make it an institution and full-time work. Okay. So in 2005, this village became fully organic, and hundreds and thousands of people came and they saw that we tried to convince government that this is possible. But the same story, Department of Agriculture said, yeah, ये तो होता नहीं. एक village हो सकता है, but it is not possible on a large scale. Then we started collaborating with the women self-help groups, help them to reduce their input use, and by 2010 we could reach out to 3,000 villages. The principle is very simple. Train people to understand their problem and help them to find a solution based on the resources they have. Simple. And more resource persons generated from the community, and those community resource persons started training others, and we could build a chain of such resource persons where we could reach out to the villages. One such village is in Warangal district, there was another village in Khammam district, and number of such villages came up. This story was part of Sachimeva Jayati. There was an episode called Toxic Food. That brought in very good visibility to the entire thing. And at the same time, it didn't convert itself into a benefit to the farmers. So there was a big market of organic growing, but that organic market, again it's the same 20% or 22% is what was going to the farmers. Then what we thought of doing is, we began a bit earlier to do something. The next step was to actually link them to the market. So we tried on a very small scale where farmers used to come and sell in Hyderabad. So they were selling in 2007 we started, but we found that it is extremely difficult for the farmers to come to Hyderabad and then sell because it's a cost effectiveness, and also storage will be a problem, and then if they can't sell it, what they do? So what we tried is to get consumers in Hyderabad to put in some money and form a consumer cooperative as well. So a consumer cooperative, and then farmers get together and farm into a producer cooperative. So the idea is to have consumer cooperative, producer cooperative come together and work together so that they can buy directly. That's something we tried out. We call it as Sahaja Ahara. Sahaja Ahara means natural food. So all the areas where we were working, we brought the farmers cooperatives together. Today we have 30 farmers cooperatives, Andhra, Telangana and Maharashtra. And each village has an interesting story to say. For example, in Maharashtra there is a village called Dorli. In 2005 the village was put up for sale. Farmers felt we can't do farming, so village was put up for sale. It was auctioned. So we went and discussed, instead of selling it, can we start working on it? They came together, and today all farmers are back to farming. They could repay most of their loans. Today they produce meat and sell it to other Maharashtrians. The village that could do that. But where we succeeded, that everybody is talking about cooperative failures, where we succeeded. The very first thing is about the federation. So building the cooperatives and then federation, farmers groups, so that different levels of farmers cooperatives is something which we could do. Getting into direct retail so that we build a connection. And also we tried and give more than 50% to the farmers. So never worry about raising the food prices. what you should worry about is whether most of it is going to farmer or not. If you are not worrying about that, you end up saying, "Arey dal to 100 rupees mein mil rahi hai, why you are charging 150 rupees?" You know what is the red gram price today? The farmers are getting 42 rupees a kg. 42 rupees a kg. And when the farmers get 42 rupees, they will be available at 100 to 120 rupees in Hyderabad market. So that's a normal. So you may get about 140 rupees. But that 42 rupees means a quintal is 4,200 rupees. The average yield is about 4 quintals. Average yield is 4 quintals. What it becomes? 16,000 rupees. It takes 180 days to grow the crop. What it turns out to them? Less than 100 rupees a day. Leave aside input cost, leave aside the land rental, leave aside the interest on the capital. It won't even give them his own labor cost. So if you are getting dal at 140 rupees, if you are feeling happy, just check it. There is a blood stains attached to that. But the key challenges, I think this is something which we all need to understand. While farmers could solve some of their problems, but today still it is very difficult. If I go to a bank to get a loan, I have red gram, but the price is only 42 rupees. If I can hold it for 3 months, I can sell it at 60 rupees. If I go to a bank is ready to give loan, but it asks for 150% collateral, non-agricultural asset. A farmer living in a village, where do they get a non-agricultural asset? The stupid question banks ask is, do you have a land in Hyderabad? You have a house plot in Hyderabad. They don't even ask as a land. They will ask, do you have a house plot in Hyderabad? Are you building in Hyderabad? All the assets put together, all these farmers, they will be around 500 crores worth land. But they don't get even a crore rupees as a loan. And they have number of questions. And I always wonder, asking so many questions, all the loans which were given to Vijay Mallya, why they couldn't recover? So if the rules are so stringent, how would they give it? Second thing what happens is the high interest rate. It's about 14%. So if I have to set up an industry, I get it at 7%. But farmers, they ask for about 14%. So that's a stupid thing. Second, high rate of taxation. When you buy gold, how much tax you pay? You know what is the tax on food? 4 to 14.5%. So obviously the little price which you are paying, on that if you take out 12% or 14% interest, and then if you take out the tax, GST and all those things, then nothing goes to the farmer. On the top of that, if the farmers organize themselves into cooperatives and sell, there is an income tax of 30%. What we are trying out is, on the next step, as a next step, what we are trying out is to come up with social enterprises which can solve this problem. Green Dunia is one of the social enterprise. We are working on IT to support tools for farmers. We are working on creating such infrastructure facilities. We are also trying to look at food processing units to be set up. Another thing we tried out to come up with is a venture capital kind of thing for farmers to invest in the rural areas. It is called IndiRoot. We just started working on that. This is the first tool which we are going to come up with. It's called eKrishi, which will help farmers and farmers cooperatives to get an advice, to manage their cooperatives, to track food from field to the store, market themselves, hire a machine if they want. So all these are now put together, they are doing it. And this is not from investments made by the people. The investments come as a time. We have number of volunteers who work on this. All these jobs, all these which I said, we have only about 35 staff. Rest, more than 200 people are the volunteers who work with us. And together we shall go over.